Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you can hear my voice very clearly. If you have any issue, please let me know.
Hello everyone.
So, Sir Zia, what is our special plan for today? Sir, can you hear me?
What we are going to do today is basically cover theory today.
Okay.
We are going to look at some code, but we are not going to basically actually code today because there's too much to learn in the first class. We are going to start looking into GraphQL. And Anis, I know that you are a SQL geek and a SQL lover, so therefore you will love this new query language.
Of course, sir. But I guess that first of all, let me start this webcast to our Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. And at least we can assign our students to please follow step 3 and 4 if possible, and discuss any issue if they are facing to our Discord channel. So we are now going to be live in a second. Okay, sir, we are live now. So this is good to go. So I would request everyone, especially the people who has joined, but I guess the audience is very limited now. So we will, during the class or at the end of the class, we will also assign some tasks from the PanaCloud GitHub repository, especially step 3 and 4. If we could not cover, or if we reserve some time by the end of the class, so we can just give a little review about the step 3 and 4, and then we can assign this task to our bootcamp participant, and then it would be good for us to completely focus on GraphSQL. This is my suggestion.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, now let's get started. Anis,
I heard I got some message from that they were facing problem hearing our voice. So is that clear now, or you are facing still some challenges regarding to hear our voice? Can anyone provide us a feedback that they could hear our voice well? And first of all, I will request everyone to please mute your mic. For example, Muhammad and Muhammad Atif Javed. These are the people who has their mic unmute. So I'm getting some voice back type of things.
Yeah, it's clear now. It's clear now.
It's clear now. That's great. NS, there is another person, NS. So I request that please. So I request that everyone, so please mute your mic. Keep your mic on mute. Whenever you need to speak, please unmute your mic, raise your concern or suggestions or question, and then mute your mic once again. Otherwise, there will be a lot of disturbance during the class. So over to Sir Zia.
Okay. Anis, what we are going to, the voice is clear now, let's move on.
Okay.
There is a language called standard query language for databases. It is a query language for relational databases.
Of course.
You are an expert in SQL and relational database. Could you summarize it a little bit?
Actually, the main concept, what I learned from my experience of SQL, and these are actually the advantages of the SQL is that there is a lot of sort of data stores or database systems available like Oracle, Microsoft SQL, Informix, MySQL, Postgres, and lot of things. So if every data store producer create their own language for extracting data from the database and storing the data back to the database, so everyone has to learn a lot of different languages. So the in start, the standard query language or structured query language has been invented or designed. So, and it was at that time it was the ANSI, American National Institute compliance type of things, and because of that we have to learn only a single language, and we can use that language to access and store data to any sort of data store. So this is the advantage or the specialty of the SQL language, that the SQL language work as a gateway between a user or a programmer and a data store provider. That's it. So is it good enough, sir?
Sorry for the delay. I had some technical issue. It has been resolved. What I was saying, now this is SQL. But when APIs came along, they started off, now that is query language for the database. Now, if you want to, on the web, if you want to query the data from the server, how are you going to on the web ask for it? There was a standard and still is a standard called REST. R-E-S-T. In the REST, to make it very short, what you had to do is, in the last class, we used API gateway. In the API gateway, we use REST to basically query. What basically do is, we basically used HTTP GET and HTTP POST. And what is HTTP GET? Basically, you give a URL in the browser. If you think about it in a browser, when you are putting on the calling a web page, basically you are making a GET request. In that GET request, you basically query a URL, send a URL. The browser basically invokes that server on that port, and the return is a HTML thing. But it can be anything. Anything can be returned. For example, you can also return JSON. So therefore, you can apply basically two things. What are those? You have to send a URL and you get a return back. Then there is a post request, which basically in the post request, you basically, what do? In the post request, basically you send a URL, but you also send a data maybe in JSON format and get a JSON format back from the server. So therefore, in the REST thing, of course, there are other ways of doing it also and other methods. There are actually 4, but we are not talking about it. I just wanted to briefly cover REST. And in AWS world, basically you use the REST APIs and you build it by using the API gateway. Now, in the API gateway, we have already learned that little bit. We have not covered it in detail, API gateway, and we have not covered REST in detail. Why? Because we are going to focus more on GraphQL. This is a new standard. This is a new standard of how to query databases. Sorry, I'm totally databases come to has come on my mind. How to query the APIs from the client. Now, what we are going to do today is let me share my screen. I've shared my screen, and let me now I'm on the repository, and I have basically opened step number 3. What I've done is open step number 3.
Sir, this is great. I'm also sharing the repo once again. So at least the participant of this session could access it easily. So dear participants, I have already shared the link of this repo in the chat window, so you can get that window and open the step 3. Sir, please proceed.
Yes. So what we are going to do is, in step number 3, before the technology which AWS uses to implement GraphQL is AppSync. But we are not going to start learning by covering AppSync. First, we have to know what is GraphQL. And in order to do that, I'm going to let's start learning GraphQL. I've opened the URL graphql.org/learn. Now, GraphQL is a query language for your API and a server-side runtime for executing queries. Therefore, GraphQL, when I say GraphQL, there are 2 different things. It means 2 things. First of all, it is a query language for the APIs. And second of all, it is also a runtime on the server side. The runtime on the server side, in our case, will be AppSync, which will be running on AWS servers. GraphQL isn't tied to any specific database or storage engine. Therefore, it uses databases, but it is not tied to a particular database. For example, you are going to write your backend, which might connect to tens of different databases. It may connect to Oracle. It may connect to Azure databases or Google databases. It doesn't matter. So therefore, AppSync, we are going to basically, our model is going to be on the client. We are going to call there's a client library for GraphQL as well. The most popular one is Apollo, but right now we are not going to cover that. First, we are going to cover the theory. The second one is the backend, which is AppSync, and the third are the databases on the backend, which we are going to cover in the next classes. So therefore, the first thing you remember, what is the type system? A GraphQL service is created by defining types and fields on these types. You are saying type query. In the query, you will ask for me, which will have a type of user. Now then you will have to define a user. Of course, everybody has to understand. When you are studying something for the first time, you have to repeat it 2 or 3, 4 different times to totally understand it. We are going to continuously repeat it for you to understand it. Now look at this type user. User is a complex type. So therefore, for a complex type, you say type user, and then say ID is equal to type ID. ID is kind of string, but basically it says that it is not human readable. And name of type string. Then for each field, you define also, you can define a function which will basically return different data. But right now, you don't have to worry about this too much. Now, this is called a schema. Like you define tables, in GraphQL, you define the types. And the query type is a special type, is the root of all types. You start your query from the query type. Now let's move forward. Look at this query. Now, that was the schema which we defined on the server. Now look at this type. This is the client is sending it. It is saying in the me type, only send me the name. It will return in JSON format this, which has me and the name. Look at how similar the query. In SQL, the query is a string, a long string from where and all this stuff. Here, when we query, we use the same format as the response, more or less. You send this and you will get it from the server. In the rest, you have different URLs. In GraphQL, you have a single URL. So therefore, for a single URL, you will send one single query after one and after another. For the query types of database, query type of types, all of them will run in parallel. We'll see about it later. Now, Anish, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, please explain this so I know, or any of you also can do it before we move forward.
So, anyone from our participant willing to share his concern or his suggestion or his ideas about these things?
Anybody? You guys are too afraid.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Would you like to just repeat what I've just said?
Yes, sir. So what we understood, first we have created a type query. Underneath, we have created one me, and me is also having another object, which is user, another type, because it's a complex type. So that also has to be defined. So we have defined ID and name, two attributes of user. So later on, it's providing also two functions also. But you said for timing, let's ignore this. But in GraphQL, I think you can define types, fields, and functions also. Then little more down, you are requesting using a simple me, because me it's defined by us. And underneath there is a name field attribute. So from me, we need only name of user. So that's the reason the simple last one is returning the username under me. So me is more like an object or a table for us.
Exactly, very nice. Anish, would you like to say something?
Sir Anish, we can't hear you.
I think Anish.
Sorry, I was on mute. So I just want that, I guess that the NS said very well regarding this. So at least initially, that is good enough from my side too. So we can proceed to the next session. So I
Okay.
guess after some time, things will be clear more.
Okay. Therefore, the thing is, you define a schema, then you define some functions which retain that data, which is you define your think of it as implementing the query, the schema. This is all on the server side. Now this you send from the client, which is the query, actual query. And this is the response. Now what we are going to do is, in the next section, we are going to focus on basically this. The thing which is sent by the client to the server, which is queries. And if you want to modify data on the server, you call it mutations. So therefore, there are two types of things in GraphQL. One is queries and the other one are mutations. Mutations basically update data and only run in sequence. Queries run in parallel. So therefore, the perfect example of a query is this, as I mentioned. This is the perfect example of a query. Now let's go into detail. We are going to cover it slowly because a completely new thing. It will take some time and then we'll get back and then revise it again and again, and slowly and gradually you are going to learn the latest state-of-the-art technology and APIs. Now in the background there is a schema, but we are not covering this in this section. We are writing, we say, from the schema you figure out what are different fields are available. Just like unless you know the table definitions, you cannot query it. Therefore, schema is just like table definitions. Here, we are basically sending a query. It's saying hero should contain a name. And say, please, if there are other fields, please ignore it. And how do we write this query? By looking at the schema. Right now, we are not looking at the schema. Now, what will be the result? Result will be this. It's saying data, colon, hero, and the name is R2D2. It is basically science fiction robot. Basically, it's a film character which Star Wars movie. It's saying the hero is R2D2, which was a robot. So this is the simplest query. As its simplest, GraphQL, it's about specific fields on objects. So you are saying in this object, please give me this field. That's it. Now, what you have to note is you will see immediately that the query has exactly the same shape as the result. You have to understand, you are doing querying and you can write a database, write a server implementation in any language. In Python, GraphQL, we are going to use AppSync and Lambda functions to do this, to make it unlimited scalable. But you can implement it in any way possible. Therefore, first thing to note is the query and everything. The query has its own language. It says immediately query has exactly the same shape as a result. This is essentially GraphQL because you always get back what you expect and server knows exactly what fields the client is asking for. The name field returns a string type, in this case, the name of a main hero of Star Wars, R2D2. Now, can anybody just this screen? Can somebody revise it? Because we are going to go very slowly. There's no hurry. Anybody going to revise this? Nobody? Are you guys sleeping?
I guess, sir, but I think that Ammar is going to say something. Ammar, please go ahead.
So from what I understand is that the left side we have the query and the right side we have the result. The query is asking for the name of the hero, and what is being returned is a string with the name of R2-T2, which is a Star Wars hero. Am I correct?
Exactly. Exactly. So this you are going to make this, send this to the server, and you are going to receive this.
Yes.
Now let's go forward. Another thing to know, queries can have comments. Now what we are saying is, give me the name of the hero and their friend.
Yes, sir.
Is,
I guess.
yes. Anish? You were saying something?
Hello.
Hello? Yes.
Yes,
You're
sir.
saying-
Sir, your screen was hanged out, or we couldn't hear you for last 1 minute.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. What I was saying is, look at this query. First thing to notice is that this query has comments. You can also put comments in the queries. The second to notice is, in this query we are saying, send me the name of the hero as well as the names of all its friends. So therefore, what will be the response? In the data thing, it will say hero, the name, and friends, an array of friends, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and so on. Now, my first question will be, how will we know that in the friends, it will not retain only just one name, but an array, that is a list?
Square bracket?
Yes, Faisal?
Yeah, it has, because it had a square bracket, so that's why we can know that it's always going to be a collection of a structure or either list or array.
No, you can only do this by looking at the schema.
S, because of plural.
When you look at the schema, it will tell you that it will be returning array.
Because
Without
of plural.
looking at the schema, you will not know beforehand. Okay. Look at this. Which one to expect based on what is indicated in the schema. So therefore, you have to look at the schema to figure out what will be returned. So therefore, in this example, we basically ask for two things, name and friends. Name and the list of friends. And how do we know the list is going to be returned? This is going to be by looking at the schema.
Sir, maybe we can apply some sort of functions which indicate the type of schema. For example, a type function that reveals that this the object is a list or
No,
scalar or something.
No, that's not possible. Because
Not possible.
not possible because it is not a programming language. It is a query. Yes, Amar.
So looking at the schema of the query or looking at the schema of the output?
Not the schema of the query.
Okay.
So the word is friends. This is the only thing we can see. S.
Yes. What did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So the schema is having friends, which is showing that it's plural. Maybe it's a collection.
Yes. Now we are going to, the thing is, when I'm going to cover a small bit of variables, of these queries, then I will go to schema type and then come back and do it in detail again and again and again. Slowly and gradually, I promise you, all of you will understand. In the query, you can also have arguments. Look at this. Added ability to pass arguments to fields. On any field, you can pass argument. You are saying human, give me human with ID 1000 and the name and the height. Now this is the return. With a human, of course, we are not asked for the ID because we knew we are already passing in the parameter the ID. In the human, we are saying name is equal to Luke Skywalker and height is equal to 1.72. Now, remember, in REST, you can only pass a single set of arguments in the URL. But in GraphQL, every field can have a parameter argument. You can also have an argument on the name. And you can have an argument on the height. Now look at this thing. We have argument on the human, which is ID is equal to 1000. And we are also saying UNID of type foot. Therefore, what we are doing is, if we have two types of height in meters and foot, all this thing will be resolved on the server and it will return. Previously, it returned in meters. The default was in meters. Now, you have specified it is return a foot in foots. So therefore, you don't have to convert on the client side. There can be two clients. One is asking for the feet. The other one is asking for the in meters metric system. Now, here the type of arguments is a string. Here it is not a string. It is a enumeration. What is a enumeration? Which has only limited types. You can have only meter or foot in the enumeration, in this enumeration. Got it?
So enums can have only two options or more than two also?
You can, it has limited number of options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever.
Okay.
In a string, you have unlimited options. You can write anything you want. But in enumeration, you have fixed number of options. Now, I know you're already, your mind must be bending. Because when you start learning any new technology, that's what happens. Now you also have aliases. What are aliases? He is saying you may have noticed that in the results object field matches the name of the field in the query, but don't include Amar. You cannot directly query for same field for different arguments. In the previous one, he said, what if he said We needed two human data in a single query. We say ID of 1000 and ID of 2000. How do we do that? Seems not possible. So that in those cases, what we do is we have an alias. We are saying query, we name the query Empire Hero, and then say hero, and then give an argument episode Empire. In the second alias, the name is Jedi Hero, and the argument is Jedi. So therefore, you will get results in two aliases, one and the second. In this way, you can send two arguments. Now let's go back. As I told you, learning is a very tiresome process. In the beginning, you have to do it again and again and again. Let's take a 5-second break and then start all over again.
Okay, if there is a 5-second place, I had to mention that I have already shared the link of GraphQL Learn in the chat window. So please open that document in your cell phone or computer also for further review. Thank you.
Now, look at this thing. We have to first define a schema on the server, which we are saying type query with the field name of me, field type of user. User is a complex type. Therefore, we have to define user as well. User has two scalar values. One is the ID, which has a type of ID. And other one is the name, which of the type string. What is the difference between ID and a string? Both of them are strings. But in the case of ID, basically we are telling the client that you will get an unreadable, which is not human readable. Humans cannot understand ID. It can be A, B, C, D, F, G, 92, 44, 75. How can human understand it? Now, look at this thing. This is called a schema. Then you make a query on that schema, which is this, which you are saying, give me, I want to query me, and please send me only the name. The server responds with this message. Me with the name Luke Skywalker. I exactly told, please only send me the name. If there are thousands of other properties of me, it will not send it. Now, we looked at a very simple case of queries. Now let's say in details of queries. We have in queries, we have fields. If the field is complex type, we have subfields. And the answer starts with data, is the first field. And then inside it, we have a nested in JSON format, hero and the name and the value of the name. This is the simple format. Now let's move forward. This is a, look at this thing. First thing to notice is that you can write comments in queries. Second thing is, previously you only asked for name. Now you are asking for friends and all their names as well. Now look at the returns. Name is like before, and in the friends, it is saying that it is a list of friends. And how do we know that it is a list? Because it has an array sign in the beginning. But beforehand, how will you know that the return will be an array or a list? By looking at the schema, which we just covered shortly, very small way, but we are going to later cover it in detail. Now, what it does is, it has arguments. Every field can have arguments. Every schema field can have arguments. But if we want to give argument to humans as well as argument to height, you put an argument before it, and the type of argument here is foot, which basically says it is the enumeration of foot or meter. So therefore it will have value, otherwise it will give error. How do you know there are only two types in this enumeration of? By looking at the schema again. Here, remember, look at this thing. It gave it in meters by default. When we specified foot, it gave it 5.6434, whatever. Now let's move forward. If we want to we want to query two humans. We can only give one argument. Now, what we do is, we give aliases to those queries. The first query alias is Empire Hero, the second is Jedi Hero. And in that, we say hero with the episode Empire, what is the name? And hero with the episode Jedi, what is the name? And in the response, it includes the alias, which is a fictitious name. You have given a name to the query. And basically there are two separate queries. One is this and the other is this. And you get it in a single response. Before I go into queries in detail, let me go to the schema section. Now look at the schema section. Any questions or comments?
No, sir, it's clear.
All right, let's move forward. Now look at this thing. In the type system, we have hero. In the query, and say name, another field appears in, which is array. So look at this query. We start with a root object, hero. And then we ask for a name and then appears in, which is subfields of the root object. So therefore, in order to ask this query, we have a typing system, object types and fields. How do you define a type? As like we said in the first page, we said type user, we said type character, name is string. And when we say exclamation mark, we basically mean it cannot be null. It means that if you ask for it, the server will always give a response to this query, this field. It cannot be null. It appears in, look at this thing. This is schema. Now, looking at this, I know that in the response, there will be a list. And it is saying, there always has to be a list, which means list might not have any variables, any objects, but it must be, the list must be there. So therefore, it cannot be a null list. And then we are saying it also has at least one episode. Therefore, if I say string exclamation mark, it means field is not nullable, meaning that GraphQL service promises always give you a value when you query this field. In this type language, we will represent those with the exclamation marks. Now, what this means in the schema? Represents an array of episode objects, of course, that is, since it also is non-nullable, you can always expect an array. Which exclamation mark is talking about? This one. If this is there, it's saying it is non-nullable. You will expect to array with 0 or more items when you query. Now, what does this exclamation mark means? It means episode is also non-nullable. You can expect every item of the array to be of an object episode type. It cannot be of any other type, or it cannot be null. It has to be episode type. How you define arguments? Look at this thing. Type star shape. It is a non-nullable ID type, a non-nullable string type, and a length. With type of meter. This is the default variable, default type. If you do not specify a type, if I could have said an unit and put exclamation mark on it, in that case, it will mean you always have to specify it. But here, what we are saying is that if you don't specify it, it can be null. You don't specify it, the default will be meter. Arguments can either be required or optional. When an argument is optional, you can define a default value. Here, it is optional. This thing is optional. So therefore, you define a default value. And the meter will be default. This is what do you call schema. Now this is the schema. This is defined. You can define any types, but two are defined by the GraphQL itself. One is the query and one is the mutation. This is defined by GraphQL itself. Every GraphQL which defines query defines the root object. Every GraphQL service has a query type and may or may not have a mutation type. What's the difference between query and mutation? Query does not change data on the server, therefore they can run in parallel. Mutations can change data on the server, therefore they always run in sequence. These types are same as the regular types, but they are special because they define the entry point of GraphQL query so that you, so therefore, if you say query hero name, if the hero is of query type, it will be the root type. If it's just type, it will not be a root type. Look at this thing, type query. This means these two types, hero and droid, are basically root types. You can start your query with root types. What are the different scalar types? You can have int, float, string we have already used, boolean, ID, and in some cases, there is also a scalar type with some implementations are defined as date. Enumeration type, how do you define an enumeration type, which we have already covered? Enum, episode, New Hope, Empire, Jedi. There are 3 types. There can be more also. If you are saying, how do we know that character has appears in episode type, which is non-nullable, like with this? An array, you just by looking at it, you know how array is. Now, somebody with schemas, who is going to help me revise it? Let me, because having saying revise it is a very open-ended question. If I write in this thing character type, or if I write query, instead of type, I say query. Or if I say write instead of query, I say mutation. There are three possibilities. No? For complex types, you can write say type, query, or mutation. What is the difference between these 3? Yes, Amar.
So type will define the schema like character and what it contains as fields inside it. Query will help us get the data. It will not modify the data, and mutation will modify the data.
Yes, or you are totally right, or put it a different way. Both the 3 type, query and mutation are types with a difference. If you say query character, it will mean the query character type is a root type. If you say type mutation, it will say the type is of character type, but it is being changed on the server. It is going to change the state of the server. You are also right. I put it in a different way.
Sir, here one small question.
Yes, go ahead.
So if I'm saying type character, so it means it doesn't mean that it can be mutation or query, right? I
No,
can use this, but
first, if I say mutation or query, then instead of type, I should have said query. So therefore,
so I'm saying, yes.
the first object you define is always, look at this thing. If I say query, it says, I'm going to query. Now look at this thing, type query. If I say type query, then it now I repeat it again. Repeat it again. I think I got confused. I put it in a wrong way. If I say type character, and instead of character, I put it query. that it will mean it is a root type. If I say type mutation, then it will mean it is all three of them are types. Now look at this thing. Type query. Just by looking at it, what do I mean? What do I understand? It says, it is basically saying that the type of query and query is what is the root object. You start the query from this.
Okay.
You can say hero, curly brackets open. Otherwise, you cannot, if it has another name, it has character instead of query. So therefore, you cannot start with hero. In this case, you said type query, so therefore you can start with hero. If this was saying type characters, then you could not have started with hero. You must have started with something which is a query. Read this sentence. It is important to remember that other than the special status of being the entry point into the schema, the query and mutation types are the same as any other GraphQL object type. Their fields work exactly the same way. There's no difference between type, a normal type like character, or a type query, or a type mutation. The only difference is that they are root objects.
Okay. So everything starts from underlying thing. Root is only just the wrapper. Everything starts from the underlying.
Everything starts from the type query.
Okay.
Now, the scalar types. These are the types: int, float, string, boolean, and ID. Enumeration types. These are the, how do you define a episode? This is a list. Exclamation mark means not nullable. Interfaces. Interfaces basically define a number of different types can implement the same fields. For example, we say interface character, which has ID, name, friends, and appears in. Humans also implements character, and Droid also implements character. Both of them have the same fields. And how do you use it? Look at this thing. If you want to querying, you basically say that this, you will return this interface. So therefore, it can be either, if I say I'm going to return character, it can be either be a human or it can be either a droid. Now, what we are going to do is, I'm going to revise one more times from the very beginning. And then we just covered the basics of GraphQL, very basic. And then we are going to cover the basics of what do you call step 3, which is AppSync. And you will have the whole picture. And from the next class, we will revise, start coding and revise again. Any questions?
Is there any place where we can play with GraphQL?
Any questions, please?
Sir, I guess student is still trying to grasp this topic because it's a very different thing, very much different from the rest and the other things. So that's why I guess some people having some challenges because I guess it will take some time to properly comprehend. So
Yes,
you
we are
can
going to-
go ahead. Yeah.
We are going to revise it again and again. Now let's go over and start from the very beginning. Type query. What does it mean? Type query means it's a special type, it's a reserved word in GraphQL schema language. It's saying either give your own name in the type or give a query or name it query or give it name it mutation. In the question of query, it will mean that it's a root object. So this query will have a root object. This is a root object which says you can start the query with me. Therefore, look at here. I'm starting the query with me. I cannot start a query with user. How do I know that I can start a query with me? Because it is of type query. Look at this thing. I'm starting with me. The type query has me. Then other complex type user. User has an ID and name. Therefore, I cannot write here user. Because if I write here user, it's not a root object. Only types of which is defined in query are the root objects. Therefore, I say name, me, and I say name. And the return is this. Me with the name Luke Skywalker. Now let's go to the second thing. This is the root object. How do I know that I can use it as a hero? Hero must be defined in the type query. Otherwise, I cannot have a root object hero in the schema. I say, give me a hero which is of root type and contained in the root query and give me the name. And this is the result. If I say this is the query, friends, name. It will give me all the names of all the heroes. Friends is not a root type. Friends is contained in the root type, hero. And it may give me list of all the friends. And how do I know that I will get array from this response? By looking at the schema. Now let's go and look at the schema. Schemas and types. You say type character, name string, non-nullable, episode not nullable, appears in not nullable, and so on. You can pass in arguments in the schema, in the fields.
So but we don't have a schema defining hero as a root, right?
Right now, it's not showing it. It showed on the first page. Remember?
Okay.
The query one, me and query.
Remember?
Query and me, yeah. So instead of me, it will be hero.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Now, let's go back here and look at the example. Step 3. How does AWS implement this? Look at we have already have covered CDK. Look at lib. The first thing we are saying is define an API. We are just covering it in 10,000 feet, just trying to understand it. We are saying new AppSync GraphQL API. This is the scope, this is the unique name. And in the properties, we gave CDK API. And we are saying schema is in this file. And authorization of this API we are defining here, and the X-ray enabled is X-ray is a basically debugging tool, monitoring tool from AWS. And then we are printing the CDK output. Now let's go and look at the schema.
Sir, can you please enlarge the screen size?
Okay, I'll do that. Look at the schema. GraphQL. This is the smallest possible type of schema. We are saying query, which means nodes and custom node. Both of them are of root type. Nodes have a type string. Custom node, you can pass in an argument with the title, and it will return as node in the form of string, which is not nullable. Both of them are query types. Just small example. Now let's go back. And look at the lib. You are saying this was Abija. I just showed you this thing, this file. Look at how simple implementing a server is. I'm saying AppSync with the asset, this. This is the schema. Now, how do we handle this? We are saying what is the GraphQL URL? It will be printed on the screen. What is the GraphQL API key? This will be printed on the screen. Now let us see Lambda function. Now we want to connect the Lambda function provide the Lambda function as a resource of the GraphQL schema, not the GraphQL schema, AppSync. We are saying connect it to this Lambda. We define the Lambda. Where is the Lambda code coming from? From the Lambda directory. Where handler is index.handler. And timeout in 10 seconds. And then we basically connect the API AppSync with the Lambda, the data source. Now let's go back. Now let's look at the Lambda. Look in the Lambda. Is saying export handler, this will be called, AppSync event will be formed, and AppSync event will have a field name and an argument of type string. If the field name info.fieldName event is nodes, it will return the nodes array, this thing. If it's saying custom nodes, it will just remain the argument stop title. Now let's go back. We are going to cover again and again. Don't worry, just relax. We are going to cover. Now let's go back to lib. In this class, we are not just looking at the code. We are not right now writing the code. In the next class, we'll write the code. Look at the name. We have defined a GraphQL API. And from ACID, this is the schema. Then we have created a Lambda function. And then we are basically connecting the Lambda function with the GraphQL API. And there are two resolvers. We have said create resolvers, type query, and field name is of nodes type. Type query, where this name came from the schema. Nodes is from the schema. So therefore, what have we done? In the data source, we have defined two resolvers. That if this query is run, this field name nodes will be sent in the Lambda function. And if the query is custom node, then custom node will be sent in the field name. And where will we get the field name? Let's go back and check the Lambda.
From schema. Lambda is providing logic.
Yes. Lambda is providing all the logic. Look at the Lambda. Now look at this thing. Look at this field name. It is included in info. If the field name is, now we are giving the line. Nodes, return this array. Otherwise, return a custom node is arguments title, which is basically, we'll cover it later.
So it means we are passing this async AppSync event from where we are calling it from. And there the resolvers are actually nodes type, which we have defined as a type AppSync event.
Yes. Let's go back. The resolvers are basically, let's go back to the lib. Look at this resolvers. The resolver saying query, if the type name is query and the field name is nodes, put in the info field these nodes, this event will be fired, nodes event. Or if the customer node will be fired. Let's take a 5-second break. Now, let's go back from the very beginning again. Where did we start off? We went to step number 3. In step number 3, we went and started learning GraphQL. In GraphQL, we said that you define a schema. Here they are one root object, which is me, and another type, complex type of user. In the root type, we send me has a type user, and user has two scalar values, ID and name. Therefore, you can send this me is the root type, and you can send a name in it and asking for a name. Then what is my name? Basically, what we are saying. In the response, it's saying me, and the name is Luke Skywalker. Now let's look at the queries again. You are saying hero. You have not defined a schema. Schema is defined somewhere else. You are just doing a query and saying name hero. Give me hero, which is a root object. Otherwise, you cannot write as the first argument. And give me its name. This is the response. Hero name is R2D2. Here you are saying, give me a hero and all its name, all its friends with their names. Therefore, this is the response. Data, hero, name is R2D2, and the friends is Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and so on. You can have also, in each field, also have arguments like this. Every field can have an argument. The height field has an argument. The foot type is an enumeration type. It can only have two values, foot or meter. If you are querying two arguments, therefore you have to define two separate queries with aliases. This is the first, this is the second. Now let's go to the schemas part. Schemas. How do you define it? Type, character. Has two things, name and appears in. Both are not nullable. It can have arguments. Query is the root object. There are different types of scalar values in float, string, boolean, ID. In iteration, it can have one or more types, but only limited. You can have lists, which is basically nothing but array. You can have interfaces and say a type human implements character. It means it must have all the fields, which at least have all the fields, these four fields. It can have additional fields, but it must have these four fields of character type. Then we go back and then, sorry, I went one step further. Let's go and see the AppSync code. The first thing we do is check the CDK code. In the CDK code, what we define, the first thing we define is GraphQL API. And then we said, this is the schema file. Let's look at the schema file. This is the schema, which is defining two root types, query, nodes, and custom node. Let's go back and look again at the lib. at the CDK code. The first thing we define GraphQL APIs with the schema type. Then we output these two things. Then we define the Lambda function, which is going to be called when a query is made, and we define the Lambda code. But before we look into the Lambda code, we define two resolvers. One was of type nodes, the other one was of type custom node. Now go and look at the Lambda function. In the Lambda function, in the info event.info, you have two fields. Field name, it can either be because there are two resolvers. Therefore,
we
there
pass
can-
from resolvers.
yes, there can only be two nodes and custom node. There can be only two values for this field name because there are two resolvers. Now that's it, my friends. Now your homework is to implement step number 3 after reviewing everything. Implement step number 3 and write a GraphQL query and call it. We are going to cover that in the next class. Today, we basically introduced both GraphQL and we also introduced AppSync. We also introduced GraphQL schemas, GraphQL queries, and AppSync, and how to connect AppSync to Lambda functions. Any questions before we take a leave? Your homework is, your next project is basically to write step number 3 and implement it and test it. We are going to also cover it in the next class. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Very good explanation.
Anish bhai,
Sir, frankly speaking, that's need to be a little bit explored. And this is really good. You explain well, but from my side, I have to review these code sample from PanaCloud SDK GitHub. So this is nice that you conclude the class a little bit earlier. But I think that everyone should stay here after the class when we will end our session and explore the code as well as the documentation that discussed by Sarzia. So this is from my side.
okay, thank you so much. See you guys next week. Bye bye.
Okay, Allah Hafiz, bye.